we're back. So I found the local library where I am living, but this past weekend was a long weekend, so I decided to make the really short trip up to home in Vermont, where all of my books from Washington, D.C. finally came in, and organize them all now on my bookshelf. This is super great because I have so many to pick from now, and I am bringing, I think, a bag of about 25 back down to Massachusetts with me to read. However, that is not the point. The point of today's video is to review The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake by Amy Bender. Unfortunately, I did have to bring the book back to the library before I could shoot this, so here's a picture of the cover. I first learned about Amy Bender when I had to read a story from her first book of short stories, I think, The Girl in the Flammable Skirt, in high school. So, Miss Bowles, if you're watching, thank you. I've now read more of Amy Bender. The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake is about this girl named Rose, and a few days before her 9th birthday, her mother makes her this lemon cake with chocolate frosting, which is her favorite combination. So she takes a bite of this cake, and suddenly she can taste everything that her mother was feeling when she baked it. And the more her mother cooks for her and bakes for her, the more that she realizes that she can taste all of her mother's emotions in all of the food. And it's not just her mother, she can taste it in the food from everyone. She can taste the feelings of the people in the factory and the farm and the animals where all the food comes from, and there are layers upon layers that she can discern when she eats things, and it's very, very unnerving. And for a while, she's not really telling anyone, and folks can't really figure out what's wrong with her and why she has these sort of visceral reactions to eating when everything is fine and she's completely healthy. So this, of course, causes a few issues. She learns secrets about her mother's life that she's not telling her family or her husband. She learns about her father, who's sort of really withdrawn from both of his children. She has an older brother named Joseph, and she sort of learns about him when he and his best friend George, George more than Joseph, sort of take pity on her in her condition when she tells George about it one day, and the two of them, George mostly, try and figure out exactly what it is that is causing her to have this reaction to food. So sometimes when I go to mark a book as currently reading on Goodreads, I also take a glance down at the reviews from other folks and what they've had to say about the book. This can be really great and really get me excited about reading it, or it can be pretty detrimental, and in this case, I was sort of puzzled. I was right in between. There was a reviewer, I don't remember the name, and I won't go so far as to look it up, but someone had written, "I did not care one iota about these characters." And I read that before starting the book, and I was a little bit concerned, because I didn't want to go into it with that mindset and wind up reading the book thinking that these characters weren't worth my time. If you know anything about Amy Bender's prose, it's a little bit absurdist in some ways. She has this very particular way with language and imagery, and it's very upfront, and it's very, very, I don't want to say visceral, but it's a different kind of reading experience, and I think a lot of this book and the writing style in it was definitely focused on description and feeling and making you conjure these kind of emotions and thoughts about the characters rather than needing to care about the characters themselves. And I didn't agree with this reviewer. I cared about these characters, but it occurred to me after I had finished the book that maybe this wasn't a book that intended to make you care about the characters. This was a book in which the characters were there so you could care about the story as a whole. The majority of the plot, especially anything really having to do with Joseph, who is a definite more mysterious character than the other three, Rose, her mother, or her father. He is very isolated. He secludes himself. He's the only one in the family with 2 doors in his bedroom, one to the house and one that leads outside, even though he never likes to go outside. He's a very, very odd guy. And Rose sets out about halfway, 3/4 of the way through the book to sort of figure out why he is the way he is. And his story was kind of the most interesting to me. Rose started to feel a little boring, but anything having to do with Joseph definitely kept the plot moving, and he did keep cropping up, so that was a positive. However, in the end, at the last 100 or so pages, things started to get a little confusing. And I think it just has to do with the way that Rose, whose perspective you read from, was narrating the story. She wasn't totally sure of herself or what was happening. I don't think anyone in the story was really sure of themselves. Everyone was in different parts of the world and the country and was doing their own thing, and no one was really jiving as a family. And people were off at college. It was just a very confusing time for everybody. But after that sort of resolved itself a little bit, the book just kind of ended. And there was a very sort of lackluster resolution, I felt like, and it could have been tied up even more gracefully. Either that or with a little more emphasis on where the story went after you finished reading. It could have been clearer that either this was the end or there was an end, but it wasn't yours to read about. Overall, I would give about 3 out of 5 stars to The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake. If words are really your thing, stories in words, maybe not so much characters, is something that you're interested in, I would definitely recommend this. I'm going to look into reading more of Amy Bender's work. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of short stories, but the ones that I have read of hers have been pretty quality. If you have read The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake or anything by Amy Bender, please do let me know. I would love to have a chat about maybe what I should read next, or some of her other great work or authors that are similar to her. I hope you're having lovely weeks and lovely lives, and we'll see you very, very soon.